This is boating safety, recreational boating safety, not commercial. And we'll be talking about carriage requirements, what you need for your boat. And we're going to go ahead and start with some introductions, and just to see who we have online. We have Hydra, yes?
Yes, we do. There's 4 of us.
Okay, excellent. And Craig?
Yep, I'm here waiting for more.
Okay. Gustavus?
Yes, Gustavus is here and hoping somebody comes. I have posters up, but I had no internet the last 2 days, so didn't advertise big.
Okay. And Homer?
I think that's Homer in the corner.
I don't hear anybody from Homer. How about Whale Pass?
Whale Pass is here.
Thank you. And did we get Chiniak? I don't think so.
This is Artemis Video Conferencing Services. Chiniak is not connected, and I cannot reach anybody in the library. They're not picking up the phone, so.
Okay. Thank you, Artem. All right. Can everybody see our computer screen?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Mike Folkerts. I work for the United States Coast Guard. I'm a recreational boating safety specialist. I've put my contact information on the screen so you can write it down. If you have questions that you don't get a chance to ask, certainly contact myself. And there's my direct line phone number located here in Juneau. And with me I have...
Hi, I'm Deb Ylijoki. I work for the Alaska Office of Boating Safety, and I mostly teach the Kids Don't Float boating safety classes, and I'm currently based out of Juneau. If you have any questions or if you are interested in setting up a Kids Don't Float class, there's my contact information, and I'm happy to coordinate those classes for you.
And we're going to just make that bigger because you guys may not be able to see that. So, sorry. Okay. How come it's not doing it? Is it full screen?
It's this one.
Oh, is it full screen? This one?
Yeah.
No. Oops. Sorry, folks. It's too.
It should be. No.
Why isn't it happening? There you go. Okay. Oh, now you're not going to see them, but they wouldn't be able to see the sides of that.
Okay.
So if you want to.
Okay, we're going to leave that up for a minute so everybody can get a chance to write that information down. And what I'd like to do is we've got this broken down into 3 sections, and after each section I'd like to open it up to questions. And because of the delay, I think I'd like to call on the various communities if they have questions one at a time to avoid any stepping on each other in communications, if that works. All right. First section here. Statistics. Alaska has about a 5-year fatality average of about 14 fatalities in recreational boating. We spiked in this last calendar year, 2012, with 23, but previously we'd been focused around 11 or 12. That's quite a drop from previous years. The highest we've ever had was back, I think, in 90, I want to say 98. I don't have that in front of me, I apologize. And that was like 38 people died. About 12 years ago, the state of Alaska passed a boating safety law, and the Office of Boating Safety was formed. They've done a tremendous job in helping reduce the fatalities through education. Back to statistics, about 77 reportable accidents annually, and that varies a little bit. Alcohol is involved in about 28% of the fatals, about a third. And personal flotation devices, life jackets, are not worn in a large majority of the fatals, so we really push life jacket wear. The photo of the boat, I hope you can see that, actually hit a cliff at 40 knots head on. And of course there were injuries, but that's a typical shot of a really bad boating accident. Okay, we're going to go to questions about statistics. Go to Hydra. Do you have questions? No questions from Hydra. Do we have questions from Craig?
Oh, we were just disconnected. We got reconnected.
Ask about the card.
Yeah, Jane.
Oh, I just was wondering if there is a card that says we took the class that for boater safety. Do we receive one of those?
This isn't a class. It's kind of a seminar, an information seminar. Classes have specific curriculum that has to be followed, and it's really difficult to do a class in an hour. So I'm sorry, ma'am, you're not going to get a card.
Are you located in Hydra? You're
Yes,
in Hydra?
I am.
That course we can talk about later on, but Alaska Waterwise, you receive a course completion card through the completion of that course. And we can talk about that towards the end, but not through this presentation, unfortunately. There's no completion card for this presentation.
All right.
Thank you. Any more questions from Hydra?
No.
Okay, Craig, do we have questions in Craig?
Nope, we're good.
Gustavus?
We're good.
Homer?
I'm sorry.
And Whale Pass?
Can I
No
add
questions.
to that?
Yes, go ahead.
As far as the statistics goes, also a majority of recreational boating fatalities are caused by capsizing or falling overboard. So be aware of that, because a lot of folks, when they're out hunting or they're just out there, be aware of that, because there have been accidents where folks are reaching over the boat to grab something in, and it happens very abruptly and very unexpectedly. So just be aware that that is a major cause of recreational boating fatalities, is capsizing.
Okay, can we get the screen back up?
Yeah.
We're practicing here, but we'll be getting better as we go along. Okay, safety equipment. We've got this broken down into 3 sections: what you must have by law, what you should have just by being a safe boater, and what you could have. And unfortunately, those three categories aren't always considered equally, and it's kind of interesting. We'll get into this a little bit. You must carry.
So you must carry a serviceable Type 1, Type 2, or Type 3 life jacket for every person on board. And for children younger than 13, they're required to wear a life jacket when on a boat or on the open deck of a boat. For those of us older than 13, we just have to have one readily accessible. And when we're saying serviceable, we just are making sure that it's free of tears, that the buckles are working, just making sure that it's going to work the best that it can. You must also carry a sound-producing device. This can be a horn or something as simple as a whistle. And also make sure that you must carry a daytime visual distress signal. And we can get into details now about what that would mean. What would a visual distress signal be?
There's a lot of rules when the boat gets bigger. The longer the boat, there's more restrictions. If it's motorized, there's more restrictions. In Alaska, if your boat is motorized, you must have it registered with the state of Alaska, and you do that through the Department of Motor Vehicles, through DMV, and not the Coast Guard. The numbers have to be placed appropriately on the bow. If you're operating at night or in limited visibility, you have to show proper navigation lights, and that goes for any vessel operating after dark or in limited visibility. Limited visibility is like fog or rain so thick you can't see very far, that type of thing. If you have enclosed compartments or installed fuel tank, you'll need a fire extinguisher, and those regulations change depending on the length of the boat. So the longer the boat, the more fire extinguishers you need. That information is available online through the Office of Boating Safety with the state of Alaska or through the United States Coast Guard sites. Inboard engines, we see a lot of those. They need to be ventilated and have backfire flame arresters. It gets a little bit technical mechanically, so we won't get into too much detail there because we don't have all the parts and pieces of boats here in front of us to show you. Over 16 feet requires an approved serviceable Type 4 personal flotation device, and that's a seat cushion or a throw ring. Years ago, it used to be that's all you had to have, like in a canoe or something. And a lot of people still believe that that seat cushion suffices as a life jacket, but it does not. That changed clear back in the 70s, I think. The regulations change pretty much dependent on the type of boat, how it's configured, the length, the power, that kind of thing. So it's very difficult to say in a general sense this boat needs this or this boat needs that. We really have to look at it to tell. Most communities have a Coast Guard auxiliary fairly close by that can do those inspections, or you can go online to safetyseal.net and do a self-inspection to tell you what you need. These are the things that you're going to get a ticket for if the Coast Guard or the state of Alaska, the state troopers stop you and you don't have. So it's important to know what applies to your boat.
And if anyone's interested in a list, it's the Alaska Requirements Summary. We have it here. It's available within this Alaska Boaters Handbook. And if anybody's interested in having these books with this completed requirement summary mailed to your community, please let us know, and we're happy to send these out to you.
Okay, let's do questions again. We went through that fairly quickly, but we think there's probably going to be some questions. Can we change the view?
Sure.
And we'll go to Hydra first.
Where are you guys located at?
We are in Juneau.
Oh, okay.
Hydra Library would like to request a set of the books so we can have for reference for the community.
Sure. How many books would you like?
2?
There are 2. 2? I can send you more.
I'll take one.
Okay. How about a dozen?
Sure.
Tourists might want to.
And also, if you guys, would it be appropriate to talk about life jackets? I kind of skimmed through that.
Sure, go ahead.
If everyone's okay, I kind of skimmed through the life jacket requirement really quickly, and I just wanted to touch upon go back to life jackets really quickly. When searching, sorry, what was I going to say? If your communities have loaner boards, I don't know if any of your communities do. I know Homer does. But these life jacket loaner boards are designed to be used by the public to provide life jackets free of charge. If your community does have a loaner board and it no longer has life jackets, that's something that we can provide to you. Or if your community does not have a loaner board but would like to have one, that's something that you can contact me after the presentation, and we're happy to provide life jackets for your community.
Can I have your contact information, please?
Sure, we can pull that slide back up.
Yeah, we got cut off in the very beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me.
Oh, wonderful, thank you.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes, we can see it fine in Hydra.
Yeah,
So
because
as you
here in
guys
Hydra we're getting
As you folks are writing
in
that down,
Hydra. Go ahead.
I just wanted to touch upon that when you're choosing life jackets, make sure that you're wearing them for their intended use, because if you're out jet skiing and you're wearing a Type 1, the Type 1 is not designed for jet skiing, and a person could get seriously injured. So make sure that you're wearing a life jacket depending on your intended use. There are also inflatable life jackets that are great. They're not as bulky, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with those jackets. And just make sure that the cartridges are being replaced. And I believe, I can double check, but I believe for liability reasons that you need to be 16 years old or older to wear
an inflatable.
To wear the inflatable. But is everybody okay with this slide?
Yes, we have it.
Okay.
Any more further questions from Hydra?
We're getting a new marina, and you mentioned the Life Preserver program. I'm familiar with it from being around Valdez, but the loaner board would be a good thing, and some preservers, I guess, too.
And you're in Hydra?
So we can, yeah, so we can dress up the marina, you know, make it look professional.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, please give me please contact me through email sometime soon, and we can help set that up for you.
Okay.
I would like to set up one contact person who is, he has a boat and he's has done fishing for a long time. So if I could give you his name and he can email you the needs of the Hydra community.
Sure. Yeah, that would be great.
Do you want to just tell me your name?
Yeah, it's Dick Simpson, and I'll get in touch with you tomorrow, Deb, by email,
Okay.
and we'll just take it from there.
Yeah. Thank you. Is everybody okay to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we need to request the books now, or do we want to request the books later?
Let's do it later so we can get through the slides, and then by all means we can request them later.
Let's keep going through the questions here. Any questions from Craig?
Nope, we're good.
Gustavus?
Gustavus is good, and I'm going to request some books. Should I send that to you? Email that to
please.
you?
You can email me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Homer?
Is Homer present?
Doesn't sound like we got anybody there.
No.
How about Whale Pass?
Yep, we're here, and I'd like to know more what a daytime visual distress signal is.
Excellent question. Deb actually has one here. We're going to make the screen smaller so we can see this.
Oh, yeah.
There's a non-pyrotechnic, in other words, not a flare. If you look at the end of your flares, and I'm assuming you have those or have access to those, you will see a little imprint on the cap, and there's a sun and a moon. Or is that, yeah, a sun and a moon. It's the same color as a cap, so it's meant to be felt rather than seen, but you can still see it. If it shows both the sun and the moon, it's a day-night, which means you can use it at night or in the daytime, like a handheld flare, or even the meteor flares with a little gun.
I don't know if you can see it. The camera's up higher, and the laptop is blocking you.
Yeah, I'm fixing to get this out. This is a distress flag, and these aren't very expensive. They're just vinyl, and it's a black square and a round black circle. Can everyone see that okay?
Okay.
And that's a daytime visual distress signal that can be utilized without worrying about catching your boat on fire with pyrotechnics. Other day signals might include orange smoke, and those look like the flares, but they're in an orange tube rather than a red tube. And I don't know what your local store carries, but it's worth being able to keep those on your boat. We recommend that you keep those in a waterproof box, like an ammo can or something, because when they get wet, they fail to fire. And that's rather embarrassing because that's about the time you need it. So you want to keep those dry. What else can we do for visual distress?
This applies to all size boats then?
Yes, it does. Commercial boats may require a little bit different setup, but they would know what they need. This is for recreational boats. And for pyrotechnics, you need 3 day-night flares at a minimum.
And sir, the books, again, we can mail you the books that has all those requirements listed out for you.
Actually, I'd like to get a poster for the harbor if you have any.
Yeah, by all means. The Coldwater Immersion poster or the alcohol and boating poster? Or both?
The poster with these requirements on them.
That'd be good. Okay.
We don't carry a poster like that, but...
We'll make one.
Okay. We'll make you one.
We'll make you one. And questions from Whale Pass?
other than talking to you later about the life jacket loaner board, no more.
Okay. All right. Is anybody else got any last minute alibis, or shall we move on? I think we're ready. All right, we're going to go bigger screen again. I apologize for all the print. It's a little difficult sometimes to read PowerPoints. What you should have. These aren't things that are required, but for Alaska, for survival, they're very, very important. Probably the single most important thing that you should have, that you don't have to have, is a means of communication. And what I mean by a means of communication, I mean something that works in your community, how you can get a hold of people. A lot of people in the Juna area simply carry a cell phone, and a lot of times that works pretty good for them. The problem is most cell phones aren't waterproof, and the first thing that happens is they drop it. When they fall overboard, they don't have it on them. So we recommend that you carry a VHF marine band radio and keep a handheld one, and keep it in your life jacket pocket while you're wearing your life jacket. Like he says, when you fall overboard, if you don't have your life jacket on, it won't do you a bit of good. Well, you won't be able to communicate with anybody if you don't have your radio with you. Another piece is to be able to get, and that's item 5, I don't have these in any particular sequence, is a means of reboarding. If you're by yourself, you're going to have to be able to either get to shore, get on top of your boat if it's still upright. If it's capsized, you want to get as much of your body out of the water as you can. And in fact, we could probably talk a little bit about coldwater immersion. Do you want to take some of that?
Sure. So for coldwater immersion, there are 3 stages, and it's the first stage that we have to be very aware of. And I'm sorry I don't have a slide for this, so bear with me. And if you have questions, we can take questions in a minute. This first stage of coldwater immersion is Gasp Reflex. And this gasping happens to everybody, whether you are an adult male or a young child. And what happens is if water is filling your lungs during this gasp reflex, then that causes a person to drown. Drowning is the #1 reason for recreational boating fatalities in Alaska. It's not hypothermia. A lot of people think that if you fall into cold water, you're going to become hypothermic and die within a couple of minutes, and that's actually false. Hypothermia is stage 3. So gasp reflex, what you have to do is gain your breathing under control, and you need to wear a life jacket because it's within these first couple of minutes that you're experiencing gasp reflex is when you're most prone to drowning. So if a person is wearing a life jacket and they get their breathing under control, there are higher chances of surviving a coldwater immersion event. Does anybody have any questions as far as gasp reflex? I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this before. Moving on to the second stage, we can call this stage swim failure. And during this stage, you're losing your fine motor skills. So after you've gained your breathing under control, what's happening is you're losing blood circulation to your extremities. Your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet, your legs, your arms, those will become numb. And you have 10 minutes to do something meaningful. What do we mean by doing something meaningful? We mean use these communication devices to get yourself out of the water, because that is your goal now, is to get out of the water. That's why Mike was saying to carry your radio on your person, because if you fall overboard and your radio's on the boat, that's not going to do you any good unless there's somebody else on the boat that can use the radio. So we're trying to encourage people to carry communication devices on your person and use them as soon as you get into the water, as soon as you've gained control of your breathing. So that's stage 2, and do meaningful activity. It can be using the radio. You can climb back on the boat if there's a ladder. grab onto a throwable device if somebody's throwing you one. Just do anything that you can to get out of the water. Moving on to the third stage is hypothermia. And we define hypothermia as gradual cooling of your core body temperature. And hypothermia starts when your body temperature reaches 95 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, and that happens after 30 minutes to 1 hour. It's a lot longer than a lot of people think. So if you find yourself in cold water for 30 minutes or longer, you can do the help position, just hugging your knees, bringing your extremities closer to your core to conserve that heat. And if you're with a group, you can do a huddle position, which you're linking arms, and the goal is to conserve body heat, but also stay together. So Gasp Reflex is the first stage, and you want to gain control of your breathing. Swim failure is what we can call the second stage, and you want to do meaningful activity. And then hypothermia is the third stage, and that takes 30 minutes to 1 hour, and you would want to get into the huddle position. And then, of course, there are different levels of hypothermia. We're just talking about mild hypothermia. That's a lot of information, but that's basically cold water immersion in a nutshell. And we have cold water handouts, and it goes through those 3 stages to make people aware of what's going on with your body when you experience cold water. That way they can know what to do. They're anticipating this gasp reflex. That way they can know what to do to prepare themselves. And if any communities want any of these handouts, that's something else that at the end we can figure out which communities would like this, and we're more than happy to send to you. Does anybody have any questions on cold water immersion? I know that was kind of a lot of information really quickly.
I've got one.
Yeah, please.
So I was one of those people always under the false impression that you die of hypothermia within 10 minutes or so. How long does it take, say in the summer in Southeast Alaska? How long can a person...
There's a lot of variables. Body fat content. Females have a tendency to lose heat quicker than males. A fat old guy like me might last a long time. But a skinny, real muscular person, a younger child, might lose heat faster. So it's a matter of how long you can retain those calories. That one of the things that people don't realize, that you lose the calories in terms of a measure of heat is when you try and swim. That water passing across your skin actually pulls more heat out of you than if you just stay still. But you can't stay still without a life jacket because you won't be able to keep your airway out of the water. So that's where people die of hypothermia, is when they try and swim. And a lot of people think that the shore is not that far away. Oh, I can swim a half a mile. But then, like Deb was saying, you lose that ability, you lose your ability to move, and then the next thing you know, without flotation, you're toast. So it happens the effects are fairly quick, but actual hypothermia, body core temperature dropping below 95 degrees, takes about an hour on the average for most people. So the state has some super resources. There's a DVD available. It's free, and it's called Cold Water Boating, and it's terrific, explaining the effects of cold water immersion and hypothermia.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions on cold water immersion? That was kind of a lot of information quickly.
Okay, I'd like to talk a little bit about emergency signaling devices, emergency position indicating radio beacons or EPIRBs, and POBs, personal locator beacons. The Coast Guard highly recommends these devices. They operate on 406 megahertz and go direct to a series of satellites that are monitored both overseas and in the United States, and that signal goes directly to the Coast Guard. On the second pass the satellite makes, sometimes within just a few minutes, it can get a position if that signaling device is capable of sending a GPS position, and a lot of them are nowadays. The PLBs are small enough to fit in a pocket of a life jacket. I happen to carry one in mine. And they're not so expensive that they're prohibitive like they used to be. The larger EPIRBs, they make them in two categories, a Category 1 and a Category 2. Those are designed to be carried on generally larger boats. And the Category 1 is the manual deploy. I might have this backwards because I'm speaking from memory here. The Category 1 is the automatic deployment that sits in a bracket on the side of the boat. If the boat sinks, the EPIRB floats free and automatically sends a distress signal to the satellite. The Category 2 is a manually deployed. You have to turn it on, so it requires a little more individual input. The PLBs are all manually operated. Very few of those are set up automatic. But they're really, really a nice way to know that rescue is coming. You can be very confident the rescue is coming. The trick you have, if you do go overboard, capsize, or fall overboard, is you have to survive long enough to get rescued. In order to do that, you want to be able to ensure that you can get out of the water as soon as possible. Some of the rest of the items on the list, such as an anchor and line, first aid kit, adequate fuel float plan, weather forecast, tide book, those are all you would think are pretty common sense things, but what we see boaters doing is forgetting those things. The trick to maintaining a consistent level of equipment on your boat is to use checklists, especially if you take equipment off your boat, like you have it on a trailer and you take it off, take it in the house. You got to remember to put it back. So build a checklist to suit your needs in the areas that you boat, the type of boat you have, the type of boating you do, and I think you'll be a lot happier in the long run. Okay, any questions on what you should have? Let's go to Hydra.
None at this time.
Wait, you didn't ask.
What? No.
Well, excuse me.
None at this time.
Okay, questions?
Oh, sorry, do you want me to go back? There you go. There you go.
Questions in Craig?
Is Craig still present?
How about Gustavus?
I have a question.
I'm still here, but I have to help patrons, so I'll be back in just a minute.
Sure.
Gustavus is good. We're happy.
Hydra has a question.
Go ahead.
Are you going to be, in the past, Al has put their program on the computer, and so we could view the slides again. Is this information going to either be in a handout or available for further reference?
Yes, this is going to be recorded or is being recorded, and that link will be made available from the OWL archive webinar webpage and also from the Alaska State Library webpage. And I'll be sending out an email with that link to everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Whale Pass, any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Did we forget anyone? Okay. Next slide. Here's what you could have. These are kind of some of these are Alaskan specific. Food, water, survival gear, shelter, sleeping bags, spare batteries, GPS, survival suits. What we think is really important, a boating safety class, a conventional formal class, and then again practice self-rescue when you get the opportunity. And what we'd like to do is kind of open dialogue with all the communities and see what else you might carry in your boating experience that we could share with others. So let's go ahead and start with Hydra.
Hydra's unique. We don't have cell phone service. There's no Coast Guard within 150 nautical miles. So our list is going to have to be completely different. We have to be self-reliant when we leave the dock. We have to be self-reliant to get back to the dock.
Mm-hmm.
And so we oftentimes don't even have other boaters on the water at the same time. So our list is pretty it covers all this, but it's pretty good, and then it's a complete list like this.
Does Hydra have a volunteer search and rescue group?
Not at this time.
When we had a lady need to be rescued, Ketchikan came in for 5 days.
Is there there sounds like there might be an opportunity here to do something in Hydra at least this summer, this season, if possible. Is that something the community could help us organize? A boating safety class and maybe some search and rescue training?
Yeah. Yes, there is at least a moderate amount of interest in that. A few of us would certainly come.
Okay. And should we contact Dick Simpson? Would he be a good point of contact to get that started?
Sure. That works. That's good, yes.
Okay. Let's plan on that. I'll go ahead and make that call as soon as I get Mr. Simpson's phone number. Or Mr. Simpson, if you could call me direct, we'll get that set up.
Okay.
And moving on to Craig. Any comments or questions from Craig? Okay, we don't hear anything there. How about Gustavus?
Gustavus, we have a dock, we have personal boats and commercial boats. No Coast Guard on shore here, but on the water, yes, we do. They come by.
Would you like me to send some Coast Guard over to Gustavus?
I don't know. I put up on the show here and I didn't get anybody to come. We got the ferry for the first time in 2 years.
Gustavus is an easy community for Juneau to get to with Alaska Airlines service, so we could certainly set something up for Gustavus at a fairly nominal expense as well. Is that something the community would like to see?
I'd have to talk to some people to see if they'd like to do that. It would be between me and the fire hall. Maybe they'd know if we'd set something up.
Okay.
There are also the Kids Don't Float program, and that's what I teach, and the goal is to get into as many classrooms as possible to outreach to students, kindergarten through 12th grade. So if that's something that any of your communities you think there would be interest among the schools for that, please contact me because we'd love to get into as many classrooms as possible.
We just got boards up for Kids Don't Float, and they seem to be in use.
Good.
I don't think we've had any classes yet, though.
Okay. Anything else from Gustavus?
We're good.
How about Whale Pass?
Yep, I'm good here.
Okay. That generally concludes our presentation. We didn't make it long on purpose because we weren't sure how many questions we would get. So what we'd like to do now is kind of go through each community and give you the opportunity to kind of put in your orders for what you'd like to see for classes, materials, and that type of thing related to boating safety. So let's go ahead and go to Hydra.
I'm gonna contact you, get your contact information. This phone number is good to call you? The
Yes.
907-46, okay. I'll get a hold of you tomorrow and we'll go over that because I also have some other questions for you. I have a newspaper, so I'd like to maybe tie this together as the possibilities for our community. We have a town meeting coming up, and I'd like to be able to get back to you with what exactly the town wants, you see. And I can kind of do a quick step back and forth by contacting you and then getting back to you.
Excellent.
And Hydra, as far you'd like a dozen of the handbooks, and it has the legal requirements in it?
Yes, please.
What I'll
Sure.
do is the library will the library will just turn everything over to Dick, so
Okay.
he'll make all the requests, and he'll be
Okay.
your main contact person.
And I'll contact you for the reader boards. I'll contact you both tomorrow, and then we'll figure out how the best way to communicate amongst the three of us to explain, to get what you need done.
Excellent.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. And going to Craig.
Sorry, I had patrons come in, so I missed just about all of it.
Oh, no.
Aw.
Do you have any specific questions? Was there a topic that you really wanted to gain some more information about? Anything specific? For Craig?
Well, since I'm scattered in 1,000 places, I guess I'll get back to you with that because I can't think of anything right now.
Sure. And same thing, we can send you the our pamphlets and handouts, and you can always look through that. And if you have more questions, you can always contact Mike or myself.
Okay, that's cool.
And
Thank
the
you.
recording will be posted.
Yep, thanks.
And Gustavus.
Well, Gustavus would like some booklets, a dozen booklets as well as to give out to the public. And I'll talk to the school about classes going over there, and I'll get them in contact with you if they would like some water safety classes.
Great, thank you. That'd be great. And just also kind of a little overview of, you have a lot of resources available to you. You have posters, handouts, we have booklets to give to your communities, and then also as far as education goes, I know some folks in Hydra, you were wondering about the course completion certificate, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention that the Alaska Waterwise course is an 8-hour-long adult course, and it's recognized nationally. It's approved by the U.S. Coast Guard, and you do get this course completion card. And currently, Alaska is 1 out of 5 states that does not have any required boating education or boating education requirements. 1 out of 5 states who do not. So through the completion of this Alaska Waterwise course, you are issued the course completion certificate, and this card, you can apply it to other states who do require boating requirements. And if you have any questions on that course, please email me, and we're happy to work with you and make that available to, and it's free of charge, and you can get apply for boaters insurance discounts. There are some great opportunities through that course. But does anyone have any questions?
This is a question from Juno. Is that course online or is it a workshop type of class?
It's like a presentation style, so it's not online.
Okay, so do you travel around the state and provide that class?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
wonderful.
available statewide.
And Whale Pass.
Could you put up that contact poster again, or slide? And also, what are the fines for not having any of these things on your boat?
I just happen to have that information for you. The Coast Guard, we have a slightly different program in federal, and without getting too far into the weeds with federal and state jurisdictions, most of the salt water within about 3 miles at least is joint jurisdictional. So if you're talking freshwater, it depends on whether it's considered federally navigable, whether the Coast Guard can actually fine you for a problem on freshwater, or whether it's going to end up being the state. And the Coast Guard fines are pretty variable, and they really depend on the particular circumstances, but we utilize a compliance option program. So if you're missing a flare, a fire extinguisher or something, we will probably give you the opportunity to produce that and not write you a fine at all, but give you a written warning, kind of a fix-it ticket. On the state side, it's a little bit different. If you don't have a sound-producing device, if you don't have your whistle or visual distress signal, it's a $50 fine. If you don't have ventilation or backfire control, it's $50. Fire extinguishers cost you $100. Navigation lights are $100. Life jackets cost you $100. There's a whole bail forfeiture schedule that's in the state of Alaska statute. It's Title 5, and it's Section 2.5. So you'd have to look it up there, but depending on the state trooper, state park ranger that caught you, you could definitely get fined by the state of Alaska, whereas the Coast Guard, we don't take your money quite as quickly, but we'll still take it.
Okay. Thank you. And are there any firearm requirements on a boat?
There are not. No, the only firearm requirements is if you get boarded, you want to be able to declare to the boarding officer that you do have a firearm. It's very common in Alaska. I don't know anybody that goes boating that doesn't carry some sort of a handgun, rifle, or shotgun. It's just part of Alaska. So the boarding officers, the law enforcement folks, are very familiar with that, and that's one of the first things they'll ask you when they come aboard your boat.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? We've got about 10 minutes left by my clock. Is that about right? Okay. And Deb has another presentation. Can we load that up?
Oh.
This one is a little shorter, but no less interesting.
How do you minimize this?
You should be able to
Escape.
escape, yeah.
Oh.
There we go.
And you can close it out.
Oh. So I just wanted to show you this. It's more of just a visual to what I was talking about earlier. You can see that the states in gray, they do not have any education, motorboat operator education requirements. And this is as of August 2012. So this is the most recent map I have of this. But yeah, Alaska is 1 out of 5 states that does not have any required boating requirements mandatory. However, if you were to go boating down south and say you were going to go to Washington and you were required to show proof, then this course completion card that you received through participating in the Alaska Waterwise course, you can use that as your proof, as your card. And I don't know, Mike, if you wanted to go into details, I'm not quite sure how to describe the differences of those or if it even matters.
Right now, every state has pretty much their own requirement. Alabama has licensing, for example, and none of the rest of the states do, although some of them show in red, but they have a phase-in education standard, usually based on age. But there's a different standard for every state. The Coast Guard has been, how shall I say, Deb, because I don't mean this in a wrong way, but the Coast Guard's been frustrated with the states by not having a consistent standard between states. We allow the states to do what they want to do, more or less, but we're trying to get everybody on the same game. So when you go from Alaska to Washington, we want you to be able to go boating there if you want to, but if they have an education requirement, even though there's not one in Alaska, we want consistency between the states if we can. That's our goal. We're working towards it, but it's a little complicated, so you really need to look at each state to see what the education requirements are.
So I just wanted to show you that visual. And there might be, and then real quick, just because we were talking about educational opportunities, this Kids Don't Float program, as you know, that there are 2 parts to it. You have the educational program and then you have the loaner board program. And this just kind of is a quick overview of that. But also with the Kids Don't Float program, some of your communities may have heard of the Peer Educator program. That has been very successful in the past year. And what that program is, it's designed specifically for high schoolers. And we go in and we train the high schoolers how to teach the Kids Don't Float program. And then the idea is that they can go into the elementary schools and take leadership and bring this cold water The Kids Don't Float program covers Coldwater Immersion and then the different types of life jackets and the importance of wearing life jackets. So the Peer Educator program is another opportunity for your community to kind of allow the teenagers to have some ownership in teaching cold water and boating safety. And then also in the past in other communities, the peer educators have kind of taken the leadership with building the learner boards and maintaining them. So keep that in mind. You can always, it's a great way to get them involved and yeah, have them participate and help out with local events. That's kind of that. But I think that is everything. I think that's everything for today.
Okay, we just got a few minutes left, so we'll just open it up to any other questions people might have or any other information you're looking for. Certainly, if you've been able to copy down our contact information, we're both public servants and we're here to help you.
Thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.